Hey guys, King of Charmanders here. Today I'll be a judge, your jury, and your analyst. And I had a whole bunch of other things planned, but you know what? It's community day today, so I hope you have a wonderful community day. It is Triple Dust, so if you are high on Stardust or high on drugs, you might want to go outside and instead play Pokemon Go so you can gather a lot of Stardust. In my case, I already have millions and millions and millions, for those of you rock fans. If you like pro wrestling, King of Charmanders does, and he is recognized and pretty well versed in the culture of said pro wrestling. But I do have millions of Stardust, so I'm not gonna go that ham for Dusclops, but you know what? It's actually pretty dang good for Great League, and sadly, unfortunately, Dusknoir really sucks for, like, everything. It sucks that Dusclops didn't get Shadow Ball. I would have had rather, like, Dusclops and Dusknoir get Shadow Ball, or even just Dusclops, because you're not going to use Dusknoir for anything anytime soon. And if anything, the only thing about Dusknoir that's really fearful is the Shadow Dusknoir you see in Rocket Sauce, because that thing is really freaking strong. Anyways, as you see here, the reason why Dusclops is really strong is because it is a pure ghost type with a ton of bulk. It has a very large butt. It will play defense. Well, it punches you to death, but it does play defense. And with the Hex Buck, it made Dusclops incredibly powerful for Great League. So, another thing about Dusclops is that it can also become an XL, so it might interest you that you want to get one. Now, the thing about pure ghost types, and what's really cool about them, is they only have two weaknesses, Dark and Ghost. And the problem with that is that, as a ghost type, as with ghost type attacks with Hex, what sucks is that Dark types resist your moves, and, of course, normal types. So, just be careful. Even though you are weak to Dark and Ghost types, just keep in mind, Hex gets resisted, it kind of sucks for you. However, you do double resist fighting, normal, and you resist bug and poison. So it has a really great spread, but that obscene amount of bulk, as long as it's not, even if it is super effective, Dusclops can take a beating. So just keep that in mind. And what makes it so strong is that it has double punch, well, triple punch to be exact. It has Shadow Punch, Ice Punch, and Fire Punch. It can also get Return. So Return Dusclops is a monster. If you've ever used it before, it hits a lot. Like, over time, it will hit for a lot of damage. So, very, very good, and like I mentioned, it can go over level 41, so you can get an XL1. 50k dust for the second move, but you'll easily be able to make up for that, and it has a pretty sweet shiny. Red means dead, and hopefully you're not the one that's dead and getting your elo taken in Go Battle League. Alright, as I always say, please consider contributing to pvpoke.com. Alright, as you see here, so if we go to rankings, so Great League Dusclops isn't actually that bad. So Dusclops is really weird, especially as an XL. So in the one shield, you can actually beat Azu and Scrappy in the one shield. Mind you, you have to bait the one shield, but if you get two returns through, it's pretty nuts how, like, what happens. For example, as you see here, if you run the simulator, as you see, the sim with Azu goes like this. You bait with a Fire Punch, and then you straight return. And as you see, you will live with 12 HP, and you will be able to return all your love and sorrow and whatever the heck you like, because return does damage based on how much your Pokemon loves you. So, if your Dusclops kills you, kills an Ozzy, you're probably going to love it a lot. But, anyways, Dusclops does have some really weird one-shield matchups. Of course, you're prone to losing against a lot of things like Stunfisk, Skarmory. Yes, even though you have Fire Punch, just because your attack stat is so godforsakingly low, you won't be able to take out a Stunfisk, Skarmory, etc. But we're gonna look at all shield scenarios anyway, so it's pretty interesting. But as you see, best used in the lead or closer. You don't want to switch because if you get locked into like an Umbreon, it's going to really suck for you. Other than Great League, as you see for Halloween Cup, is also pretty good, ranking at number 67. Sadly, that number is not 69, so Dusclops is not part of the cool club, or not just part of the really exclusive 69 club. But as you see, it is actually really good. Ghost types resist poison, so that means it does really well against the poison type meta. Dusclops also has a strong matchup against things like Alolan Ninetales as well as Alolan Marowak. And of course, fighters like Toxicroak, so Dusclops is beastly. As you see here, it can eat a whole Shadow Bone, and it only it's gonna take out half of your HP, but like, as you see, you're still going to be able to get to 2 Shadow Punches, so. But this is Fire Punch and Shadow Punch. If you have Return and Fire Punch, just keep in mind you're not going to have a great time. So, but in Halloween Cup, the recommended moveset is Fire Punch and Shadow Punch, so. But, and of course, as you see for your key losses, without Return, you will lose against Azu in the 1 shield. You also won't be able to take down Frostless, unfortunately. Frostless, you can beat Frostless in the 0s, and the 2 shields, but in the 1s you will lose, just because in the 2 shield, well, in the 1 shield they can Shadow Ball you. In the 2 shield, you can Shadow Punch and Fire Punch to death. So, as you see here, just because you're so bulky, you'll be able to take on all these. You just can't take on a Shadow Ball. So, Dusclops might be an interesting pick if you plan on using in the lead for the Holiday Cup. As you see here, best used in the lead. Use it to break shields, and then sweep with your back row. Now, what sucks about Dusclops is that the abundance of dark types nowadays makes it a little dangerous, but you can it still does pretty well against a lot of the meta. So, not a bad pick in general. Plus, you can XL it if you choose to, but expensive, but versatile, and might be a little bit of a dark horse if you're looking for something spicy in Holiday. Well, it's not really that spicy. It's just, you know, it has a community day, so a lot of people could be using it. Alright, here's a PvPoke.com matrix. This is the part you probably all skipped to. So, as you see, I have Fire Punch, Shadow Punch. You're always going to use Hex. Feint Attack is a terrible move. Don't use it. You have Fire Punch, Shadow Punch, which is the recommended moveset. Ice Punch, Shadow Punch. We got double Elemental Punch. And then you have Fire Punch Return. And then I just basically used an Attack Weight one. And then the Defense Weight one. You're never going to really use Return. There's not too many targets that makes it worth using Return in the Halloween Cup, at least for Dusclops. So I switched it over, as you see, I switched over to Double Punch, and then you have the Halloween Cup meta to the right. We hit battle, and there is a lot of interesting things. So remember, you can beat Azu in the 1 shield, not in the 2 shield though. This is the 2 shield. We're in the lead. So this is Dusclops if you were to use in the lead. Dusclops, though, has a very interesting matchup against a lot of the Halloween Cup meta. As you see, you beat Beedrill into 2 shields, so you beat the bug types. You also beat Cofregus. With Shadow Punch, you are able to outpace Cofregus and do it. Well, you technically just outpace and outbulk Cofregus. You're also able to beat things like Drapion. Of course, like I mentioned, the bug types. You beat Frostless convincingly in 2 shield. And the interesting thing is, if you have, this is a really close matchup, so don't bank on it, but with a certain IV spread, you can actually beat Galvantula, as you see here. So it's like, I mean, don't count on it, but generally you will lose the 2 shield against Galvantula. So just take both shields and then farm down Galvantula, and then try to see what you can do with the back. But other than that, it is an incredibly powerful mon. You are also able to beat Haunter with most IV combinations, except this one for some odd reason. The Fire Punch, well, it's because you don't have Shadow Punch, basically. So as you see, without having Shadow Punch, you aren't able to beat Haunter, so. You're also able to beat Mawile, Shadow Mawile. I foresee some Shadow Mawiles. If you played the last Halloween Cup, Shadow Mawile is still going to be really painful, just because Fire Fang plus Power Up Punch and Play Rough is a pretty disgusting combination. Plus, it melts your grass type, so just keep that in mind. You do lose against some poison types in the 2 shield. Again, Nidoqueen, you also lose against Golbat. You lose against a lot of them just because of their ability to debuff you, and they can hit really hard over time. Dusclops doesn't. The disadvantage of Dusclops in a 2 shield is you don't do a lot of damage. So even though you are able to break shields and you went against a lot of combinations like bugs, etc., you aren't exactly able to dish out a Hail Mary. So if you watch football, and you won't be able to Tom Brady. You will not be able to score for, like, what, 69 points in one fielding with, like, 2 shields. Anyways, just hope you have that much. But anyways, as you see here, overall, it's still an incredibly powerful mon. Being able to take out things, yes, you could take out a Tentacruel with a Dusclops, just because you resist Poison Jab. You also are able to have a really strong matchup against Toxicroak. Now, be warned, against all of the dark types, you will lose pretty convincingly in the 2 shield. Except for, like, as you see, that one matchup with Zweilous, that one IV with Zweilous, I wouldn't count on that matchup too much. Just keep that in mind, so. But, as you see, you do really well against all. It makes it really interesting, because you can break shields in the lead. You'll be able to break shields. That, or you could sack it in the lead, and then set up farm down plays. And you're pretty convincing. It's pretty dang good, just to keep that in mind. Pretty good. Alright, so now that we did the 2 shield, here's the 1 shield. And the interesting thing is, remember how in the 2 shield you lose against a lot of the poison types? Well, In the one shield, for some odd reason, well, not really for some odd reason, basically it's just because you don't get Shadow Balled to death, or you don't have the potential of being Shadow Balled or nuked to death. As you see here, you convincingly are able to beat Nidoqueen, Golbat, basically a lot of the poison type meta you are able to defeat now. So, you're gonna lose against what you lose against. Again, you pretty much lose against every single dark type. Except for Drapion. Don't ask me why. Well, basically it's because you resist poison. Basically it's because you resist poison sting. So, other than that, unless you don't resist it, as you see here, it turns into this weirdly weird conundrum. The good thing is, you flip Galvantula in the one shield, so as you see in the one shield, you are able to beat Galvantula with most IV combinations. And basically, yeah, it's almost a mirror of the same thing. You beat the grass types because you have Fire Punch, you do very well against the poison types as well as fighters, so still, you don't flip. The good thing is against Dusclops, you don't flip too much. Just in the one shield, you're like, alright, I can beat poison types. In the two shield, it's like, okay. You're gonna have to, like, really pick and choose. And again, without return, you don't have a chance against Azu. So there is some... If you start seeing a lot of Azu, there's merit for a turn. But other than that, not really much. Sadly, because you don't have... You know, with the power of Thunder. And you can't Thunder Punch things to death. Because, you know, despite... I don't understand why they didn't give Dusclops Thunder Punch. It's just really weird. But they're probably just like, you know what? He's got Shadow Punch. We're good. And now we have the Zeros, the closer! This is where I wish you had Shadow Ball. Because if you had Shadow Ball, it would be a little more fun. But sadly, you're just gonna punch everything to death. Or if you have return Azu. But as you see here, you basically, ones and the zeros are practically the same. One thing you do drop though is Alola Ninetales. So you lose against the Charm version, or you like, as you see, it's like a little weird. You're either gonna get Weather Ball to death, or what's gonna happen is you're gonna get Charmed to death. So either one. So just keep that in mind. Now the thing is, it's practically the same thing. Fire Punch gives you that good chance against steel types. The ghost types die to punch you. You punch everything to death, okay? It's not one punch man, not two punch man. Yes, two shields are better than one. Like, one shield is better than two, which makes no sense, but that's how you know, that's how you beat the poison types with Dusclops. Now, if you have shields, if you have a shield and your opponent does not, you are going to be able to punch a lot of things to death. You're still going to lose against basically all of the dark types except for Drapion. And then, as you see here, beat Umbreon, Wigglytuff, Zweilous. It's so... I wouldn't bank on, like, leave it... If you have a better mon, if you have a more meta mon, such as, like, a Frostless, the Frostless 2-shield strat, etc., just leave that with shields. Don't leave Dusclops with shields. It's gonna be annoying because you're gonna have to punch everything to death. And remember, Dusclops doesn't have a high attack stat anyways. The 2-0s, obviously, anything is going to have a really strong matchup in this meta. But, as you see here, you can still lose against the dark types. It's what it is. You can beat Azu, but you're barely going to beat it. I mean, you can beat it, but you have to have a little chip damage to convincingly beat Azu. As you see here. So, if you have the double punch variant, obviously you're going to lose. Fire Punch and Ice Punch, Azu resists both. So, don't bank on winning if you get that. But, as you see here, 2-0 is still very strong, unless you fight the dark types or Wigglytuff. I forgot to mention, Mr. or Mrs. Wiggles, whichever one you two have, will wiggle very, very hard, and because they resist Hex, you're going to die. It's that simple. You get Charm versus Wiggles, it's not a very comfortable matchup for you. But if you have 2-1s, as you see here, the 2-1 shield, ironically, is basically the same thing, except for the beginning rows. So, in the 2-1s, if you have shield advantage, as you see here, you're able to take out Azu straight Shadow Punch. So if you do have an extra shield, as you see, that's a lot of Shadow Punches, and this matchup almost takes 1200. It basically takes 2 minutes. But concern about that is that as you see here, one turn of difference can flip the matchup. That's why I'm not don't really bank on it. So it's a little iffy, and you're literally going to fire off this many punches. So just keep that in mind. I wouldn't say hey, I convincingly beat Azu outright. If it's Hydro Pump, the reason why you lose is if they Hydro Pump through shield, you basically die. So that's what it is. But as you see here, you beat a good chunk of the meta now. You do flip a couple of matchups, mainly Frostless, Galvantula. Basically, you're just able to outpressure a lot of the A to D meta, or basically you just have more shields. It's very iffy with Dusclops though, because Hex is a very clumsy move. And remember, Dusclops doesn't do a lot of damage. So even though you're in the 2-1s, The reason why, there's a lot of things that can flip depending on how much energy your opponent has. Because remember, it's defense based, not HP based. So you're still going to lose against the dark types. As you see here, 2-to-1, you're going to be able to beat the poison types. And you beat a lot of you flip a lot of random things. Drifblim, Crustle, Drifblim, Crustle, Azu in some scenarios like I mentioned. But like I said, if you have a better mon to leave shields with, like at Frostless, leave it with that. Don't leave it with Dusclops. And that's GG's. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope you'll have a wonderful, or had a wonderful community. And as you see, Dusclops XL is pretty dang dope for the Halloween Cup. You don't need to use the XL one. You can use the level 41 perfectly fine. Having a little attack doesn't help. But based on, like, the charts, IVs don't really matter too much. They basically don't. There's nothing that really specifically flips anything. It's just whether or not you have the proper punch. Whether or not you want to 1-punch, or 2-punch, or 3-punch, or machine gun punch. You watch the Gundam, we can be best friends, because I love the Gundam series, and that's one of my favorite. Actually, outside, that's like my second favorite one. That's not, like, it would be my favorite if it wasn't like, if there wasn't like Gundam Seed Destiny. That's my favorite Gundam series. But as you see here, it is a very good mon. In the lead, you'll be able to break shields. But the really weird thing is, like I said, keep in mind, in the 2 shields, you lose against a lot of the poison types if they can nuke you. So it's really weird. But in the 1 shield, you convincingly beat them. But Dusclops is a great lead for taking out shields. But, however, I'm still a little iffy about using it, because the reason why it ranks so low is because of the dark type dominance. Dark types still do very, very well in this cup. And with the new Umbreon community that came out, and a lot more people, well, basically it's a longer period of time, so a lot of people do have mana buzzes, etc. Mana buzzes, and of course, it's just real, like I mentioned, there's a lot better things to leave with shields rather than a Dusclops. So it's just really up to you. Doesn't hurt to build one though, because it's triple dust, you will have a lot of dust to build a Dusclops. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the video, and hopefully this does help you out to decide whether or not you want to build a Dusclops. For the Halloween Cup, it's Shadow Punch and Fire Punch. If you had Shadow Ball, you would have a lot more nuke potential, and you could sweep a lot more matchups in this row, just because you could replay. But the funny thing is with Shadow Punch, like Shadow Punch in some scenarios is better than Shadow Ball, just because you're able to get and bait more shields, or just like with Ozzy, you're just able to punch it to death. But it's really up to you. Again, with Return, you can take out Azu in the 1 shield, but other than that, all the tips I gave you, hopefully it does help you out in considering you want to build a Dusclops. Hopefully you had a wonderful community day. It's been a while since I've done an analysis video, but I didn't want to do something like teams or anything like that, because this community day, I want you guys to relax, just chillax. Instead of listening to top teams, here is the analysis for the very thing you will be catching hundreds and possibly thousands of during community day, or already have caught of. Good luck on your Go Battle League sets. If you do me a favor, please like and subscribe. To easily subscribe, all you have to do is put your mouse over to the bottom right. You see the word that says subscribe. Subtop pops up, and you can leave subscribe from there. Really do appreciate my current subscribers. Again, good luck on your Go Battle League sets. I mean, good luck on your Go Battle League sets. Good lick, but you know, you don't want to lick a normal type Pokemon, so you see what I'm talking about. But anyways, good luck on your Go Battle League sets, and I will see you guys on the next video.